Hello, I'm Bernie, and a very warm welcome to my story, my journey through breast cancer, almost 13 years ago now. But this is just not about my journey through breast cancer. It's about the lessons that I learnt. And there are 7, there's probably many more, but the 7 main ones I wanted to share today. For those who are not just going through breast cancer, it might be some other challenge that they're going through in life, or a loved one is going through a challenge. So my intention is that by me sharing these 7 lessons and some of my journey, it can help others to find their inner strength, find their resilience, seek out support, choose self-care at this time, or if they're going through this at that time. So firstly, my heartfelt support and healing, loving energy to anyone who is experiencing cancer at the moment, or a loved one, or any life-threatening illness. It is a huge challenge for many, one that really turns can turn their lives upside down, both for those who are going through it, but also the significant other in their life. There could be their children, their family, their extended family, their work colleagues, their friends, their neighbours. For most of us, it would be very rare if you were not touched in some way, whether personally or with someone that you know having had cancer. So this story, these messages, for me, it's got this ripple effect. These messages can have a ripple effect going through the community. Why I was prompted to share my story, I haven't for many years spoken much about it. I was going to write, and I'll write about it, and I'll chat a little bit more about that later. But it took me quite a while to process it for a few reasons, and they'll be explained a little bit further into the chat as well. But specifically, I was prompted to share because of a client's daughter who was recently diagnosed with cancer. I also had breast cancer, so sending her love and sending her healing. I also had a young woman come to see me a few weeks ago now, and she's been on a journey for 18 months going through treatment for leukemia, so sending her love and healing as well. And anyone who is listening to this, whether you are, as I said, you have been diagnosed with cancer or not, whether you have a major challenge in your life, or whether someone you know has been affected by cancer or is going through a major challenge. So what I learned from my journey, it took a while for me to process it, but now it's the lessons are really foundational like core values almost that I stand upon. They're my foundations. So they out of my experience, I learnt my greatest lessons. So a little bit about my journey. This chat is not about my diagnosis and my treatment. It's more about the lessons that I learned and passing them on, hoping that it will help someone else. But I did have, it was my third diagnosis that picked up that I had a tumour in my right breast. I had been checked before and they said it was a milky gland, which I had in my 20s, and they just sort of dissolved. So I went twice and was told that, it's okay, keep an eye on it, but it's okay. But when it got a little bit bigger, that's when I went back and I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I had a lumpectomy within 2 weeks. I then was put onto a course of chemotherapy, which is a story in itself. A story in itself. There were so many side effects. It really, really pulled not just the rug out from underneath me, but the world out from underneath me, because it's like my defense mechanisms were gone. I had a lot of side effects, almost like every day I had a different side effect. And some continued and some came and went. So that's another story. After chemo, I then had radiation, 6 sessions of radiation. It took me 12 months, probably more, a little bit more than 12 months, for me to get my energy back, for me to get my breath back, for me to think more clearly, for me to be feeling more settled within myself. But it wasn't just the treatment that I had for breast cancer. I had an extra challenge on my journey. It was the end of my marriage at the same time. So a little bit more about that in a moment. So yes, I have lost loved ones from cancer, but I've also had loved ones who have survived cancer. My dear mother who has passed, she passed during COVID, but she passed away peacefully in her sleep. It would have been 20 years ago she was diagnosed with bowel cancer. She survived. So a wonderful gift that I was given, that she did survive. So again, I work very intuitively, as many of you know, and so even saying this, I'm just thinking of someone and sending them love, because the story with my mother with bowel cancer and her surviving didn't have the same ending for another client that I had with her mother and her sister. So sending her love. My maternal grandmother, I've actually taken her name, and which is my grandfather's name, which is Ginnane. She was diagnosed with stomach cancer 18 months before I was born. I think it was 18 months before I was born. She was only given 18 months to live, and she died peacefully in her sleep 33 years later. She was diagnosed with stomach cancer, didn't have treatment from what I have heard. She was, yes, of Irish descent, very strong-willed, very stubborn. So maybe she wasn't going to accept the diagnosis the prognosis. Maybe it was divine intervention. My paternal grandmother, my father's mother, had a double mastectomy because of breast cancer in her late 60s, survived and passed away peacefully in her 80s. For me, I come from a long line of women, of strong women, and I feel that strength running through me, and I wish to pass that on. I wish to pass that on. I also lost a dear friend when I was 20. My friend who was only 23 died of leukemia, and she struggled with that for 5 years. So that was something that hit me very young. What have I learnt from going through my journey, and also the time since my treatment? What I learned was it was the catalyst to find my inner hero, to dig deep and find my inner strength. Our greatest challenges can bring out our greatest strengths. So this can be words of encouragement, words of support for others going through any challenge, to dig deep and connect with your inner strength, with your fortitude, with your courage. So lesson 1, yes, what I learned was finding my inner hero. I'll go through that in a moment a little bit more. But lesson 1 was to be very present with myself, to be self-aware and consider myself first. So please be present with yourself if you're going through a challenging time. Try to be self-aware as much as you can so that you can adjust as needed. Consider yourself first. This is not selfish, but an act of self-love. Please bring the focus back to you. It's like the scenario of putting your own oxygen mask on first before putting the oxygen mask on for another. Many years ago, I was asked to speak at a women's business function about my journey through breast cancer. I had already spoken at a mentorship program, and that went for me quite well, went very well. And I was going to take that speech from the mentorship program to the women's business function. But at the business function, 2 unexpected things came into play, and both of them disrupted my speech, my energy, my presence. But looking back, it was absolutely meant to happen, as both experiences offered me valuable lessons. Firstly, I was distracted by a woman near me who wanted me to engage with her with photos of her, and just in case she might be listening, they were photos of her that had nothing to do with me. They were to do with property, I'll say, and renovations. Nothing to do with what the topic was. And the other thing that interrupted my, in a way, focus was that I had arranged to attend a 10-day retreat overseas. It was a yoga and watercolour retreat, painting retreat, and I was leaving that afternoon. So I was probably a little, yes, distracted by the woman, but also I feel that's what threw me most. Maybe too, I wasn't as emotionally strong at that time, maybe, to speak strongly. What came through was I needed to protect my energy and space. These were the messages that came through. I needed to protect my energy and my space. I needed to be very present. Just as I've said that, the light has changed in the room. Maybe it's it's like that light bulb moment for one of you, two of you, or more. The need to protect your energy and your space. The need to speak up and say no when you feel that's the right thing for you. The need to put in boundaries. So I needed to be very present, but I was distracted by this woman, and I needed to bring the focus back to me. I needed to bring the focus back to me so that I would have been at my best during this speech. So please bring the focus back to you. And that's a daily practice. It's a daily, for me, responsibility for self. Don't wait until you are forced to bring focus back to yourself. Each and every day, please be self-aware. If you are tired, overwhelmed, burnt out, stressed, pause to bring the focus back to you, even for a minute, a moment, a round of breath. Ask yourself, what do I most need in this moment? It might be a short break, 3 minutes. It might be some fresh air, gentle stretch, a walk in nature, a gentle self-hug, maybe hydrate, connect to nature, slow down, take that short nap. Repeat an affirmation, a positive affirmation. So protect your energy, be self-aware. Bring the focus back to you, particularly if you are going through a challenging time, whether that's cancer or some other challenge. As I said, it could be stress, burnout. Lesson 2, seek support. There are many, many wonderful support groups out there. Reach out, please, and ask for help. Many, many wonderful support groups in the community. Catch up with a friend. My dear friend in Port Macquarie, hello, Sue, was brought to me by the angels. Probably 14 years ago now, and still is one of my best friends many years later. It's so important to have a positive, non-judgmental, patient friend or support team around you, whether that be family, loved ones, neighbour. It'd be good if also colleagues at work. It's so important, yes, to have your medical team around you, support groups, but also individuals. I do have 3 children. Thank you for their support, and particularly for one of my daughters. She made me lots of superfood concoctions, so that really recharged my cells. So, lesson 2, seek support, reach out. Also, if someone promises something, which this is an experience that I had, promised to be there, promised to support, and then it's like crickets, please don't take it personally. Next. Who's next? Who's next? Lesson 3. This is back to the yoga and watercolour retreat. It is so important to have something to look forward to. I must have walked 1,000 miles on the beach during my recovery and up and down the stairs slowly, which in itself is a gift, to give yourself permission to go slower, to notice more. Like this morning when I was out walking, a pod of dolphins. 3 weeks ago, a whale and some dolphins. And I saw a small shark, I think it was a little hammerhead shark, having sort of trouble trying to get back out. It's like he'd lost his focus, or she, and had ended up in very shallow water. So anyway, I stayed there and it eventually disappeared into the depths. So thank you. So yes, it is so important to have something to look forward to. Catch up with a friend, watch a comedy movie. I did connect with comedy. I very much connected with music, with creativity, with nature walks by the beach, meditation, doodling, creative doodling, chanting, even something, just listening to a chant, not without even engaging with it. I felt it very supportive. I was also given some crystals. One was green calcite. I'm looking at them now. Green calcite, clear quartz, and beautiful rose quartz by one of my daughters, and they're held, supported in this beautiful macrame hanger. So, and I hung them over the side of my bed. For how long? 3 years. So absolutely have something to look forward to, have something that you connect with, that helps you to catch up with a friend, that helps you potentially get out of your head. Excuse me, I'll just have a little sip of water. Lesson 4, find your inner hero. As I mentioned before, I had an extra challenge whilst going through my journey. Maybe that's why I've just coughed and cleared my throat a little then. So I had the lumpectomy and I finished the course of chemo and was partway through my 6 sessions of radiation when my marriage of many years, 30 years plus, ended when my then husband left. For the remaining weeks of treatment and for the months ahead, until I got my strength back, I did feel on my own, even though I had, my dear friend, my adult children who, would come and go, young adult children who would come and go, even though I had my, medical team and a small support group, I felt on my own. Because although I had finished treatment, recovery takes much longer. And it's something that it's very personal and we go through it on our own. We can have others with us, but we feel what we feel on our own. We feel the fear, we feel the anxiety, we feel the uncertainty, we feel whether it be those feelings of, whether it be despair for some, abandonment for some. I did also have just a short chat with a wonderful social worker that my oncologist referred me to. And what she did was she lifted me off the ground. She lifted me off the ground. So thank you to her. It was meant to be how my story unfolded. Even though I didn't know whether I was going to, live or die, I had a lot of faith in living. And I chose that I wanted to live. Some, of course, don't. That's not their story. They don't have that choice. But I was asked to find my inner hero. And I did. It was definitely a time when I dug deep within. Before coming on to this video, and as I was putting some words together, the words that came to me were, I fall, I rise, and I rise again. That's what we came here to do, was to rise. We all go through challenges, medium, small, big, huge. through all of it. We don't have control over a lot of it, but we do have control over how we respond. I fall, I rise again. Whatever the challenge we face, whether it be cancer or something else, some other life-threatening illness, whatever the challenge, grief, loss, for goodness sake, loss. It is living with loss is huge for many. Abandonment, depression for some. It's not about what I went through, but what did I learn? And it so ties in with what I do now as a counsellor, as an intuitive guide, as a shamanic practitioner, as a sound energy healer. You know, as a light worker. What's a light worker? Someone who shares beautiful light, beautiful intentions. I try my best to inspire others, to motivate them, to believe in themselves, to help give them hope, and to help them to connect with their inner strength, to empower them. Not too long ago, 6 weeks ago, a woman came to see me for a session, and just through chatting, just through us connecting with our energy together, it's like the light went on for her. It's like somehow there had been breathed into her inner light a little oxygen, and her inner light was reignited just through chatting. I just heard light beings. We are all light beings, and we can all be light bearers. Oh, beautiful message. We are all light beings having an earthly experience. We can all be light bearers. I feel that is a choice, whether we are a light bearer or not. That's just come in randomly. So definitely a message. We have a choice whether we choose to be light bearers. Please consider being a light bearer. So I love what I do because I know what it's like to not be in the light. And I'll discuss that a little bit more in a moment. What also came through were two initials, and this came through, and I'm just looking at my notes, this came through before coming on to record this, the initials of L and K. So what came through is our greatest challenge may not be that we're having a major health crisis or a loved one is. What came through was you may be being greatly challenged by the naysayers, potentially bullies. So sending you strength and support for whoever is going through, whatever you are going through. What I learned to do in this journey was to love me, find my inner hero, find my inner strength, find my fortitude, find my purpose. I found my purpose to live. It's not for naught. You are, and people are not for naught. They do matter. Things matter. Things happen for a reason. Please find the reason, find the lesson. Lesson 5, I do matter. I was working in the corporate industry, stressed and exhausted. even my little neutrons were stressed and exhausted because of breast cancer and treatment, particularly radiation. But I continued to work in the corporate industry to support myself until I made arrangements to get out of it, which is what I did. It's like my neutrons, protons, my little subatomic particles were not firing on all cylinders. I lived in a unit. It was on the first floor. I probably had about 10 steps to go up. But I remember one day going through, when I was going through, I was at the end of radiation, and for quite a few weeks later. But I remember going up 1, 2, 3 steps and then having to have a pause. I would lean against the wall, take a pause. And I didn't label it at the time as taking a power moment, which I've got a couple of chats on my YouTube channel about power moments, and people wonder where it came from. But definitely I know the benefit of having a power moment, because by me stopping on the steps, I was able to rest, recharge. So I was very, very exhausted, both going through my treatment and post recovery, and working in corporate world on my own, as I said, end of marriage. What the lesson in this lesson 5 is, through that experience, I learnt to value myself. I learned to accept that I do matter. My experience in the corporate world through this time, I was not supported. No way, no way, no way. Is there a little but I can hear? But no way. It was like on the external, in the facade, maybe a little, but not if it didn't equate to a dollar value. So that gave me the catalyst to leave. So I give thanks in a way for that experience, because it was the thing that propelled me forward. I ended up leaving the industry and dived into study in the field that I now work in and have for quite a few years in a professional sense. But I've always been interested in studying in healing for many years. I've been actively working with numerology for over 30 years, and very much so connecting with my spirit guides. For those who don't know, my first experience with my spirit guide was when I was 8, very strongly in my late teens, early 20s. Then it went sort of like a little bit quiet, and then it sped back up again in my early 40s. So I do matter, you do matter, more so than the dollar. Okay. Lesson 6. Earth angels. Earth angels do exist, whether they be loved ones, friends, strangers, a neighbour. Those who support us can very much be earth angels. Earth angels. What I'm doing now is connecting to those who supported me in very loving ways. So I'm taking a deep breath in. You might like to take a deep breath in too, and think of someone, bring to mind someone who has supported you, unconditionally, non-judgmentally, very patient with you. So connect to the energy of earth angel energy, very compassionate energy of the angels. Breathe it in, receive it, then send it out. It is not just about those who are going through cancer, or those who may have a loved one going through cancer, that these messages are for. So you might want to send out that beautiful angel energy. And the word that's coming through is someone could be going through depression, or those that are not feeling that it's such a good, their days are not so good. I'll just put it that way. Or those living with a disability. A big, big, big shout out. Sending so much love to Hunter Tyne and his dearest mum, Angie. I'd like us to all be earth angels. It's a choice. It's, as I said, a bearer of light. It's a choice. Lesson number 7, a big lesson. Love yourself. Love all of you. Back to the yoga and watercolour retreat. I was in Hawaii. That's where the yoga and watercolour retreat was being held. And it was on the Big Island, an area covered in beautiful black volcanic rock. So one night we were invited to the bonfire, and the bonfire was held on the cliffs. We were given these like little key rings to light our way. They were just lighting the tiniest little path in front of us. It was dark when I set off, when I left the Shala to meet the others on the cliff. And I heard a voice, a feminine voice in the darkness. It was pitch dark, pitch dark, pitch dark with this tiny little torchlight. And I heard a voice, "Can I walk with you?" Now, I knew it was a feminine, but I couldn't see who she was. She was just a flicker. Maybe she saw a flicker of light and then, "Can I walk with you?" I called back yes, and we walked each other through the darkness. We walked each other through the darkness. We walked each other home. She was there for her own journey, healing journey, and I was there for my own. We walked each other through the darkness, two strangers, unseen, just hearing each other's voices and feeling the presence of each other. We walked each other through the darkness. We walked each other home. Why? Because we both sat on a log just off from the bonfire, quite a large bonfire. And just off from the bonfire on the edge of the cliff was this huge, massive hide drum, 2 meters. 2 meters. I would feel probably horse hide. The drum was very, as I said, very big. There were I saw 6 figures around the drum. They all had a mallet and they were playing it. We joined in with the rhythm of the drum, and this woman's name was Heather. We joined in with the rhythm of the drummers together in the dark. The nearest landmass when I looked out from the drum was across the dark ocean into the black sky was Antarctica. So I was it's like I was on the edge of the universe. The drum was played by, as I said, 6, and then it dwindled to 5 and 4. At times, one may have picked up the mallet and then put it down, and another one. But the drummers dwindled from 4 down to 3. I stood up and picked up one of the mallets, which is the stick with the padded end and the hide around it, and you beat the drum with it. And then there were no other drummers. There was a spare mallet. I picked up the second mallet. I was beating this drum, this huge drum, with 2 mallets. I was drumming on my own for the group that was there. I was playing the drum with both hands. I remember I was very sweaty. I was putting a lot of energy into it. I was drumming out my pain. I was drumming out my uncertainty of my future. I was drumming out my fear. I was drumming out my sense of loss. I was calling in my spirit guides. I was not interrupted. I found my inner hero. You don't have to go to the cliffs of Hawaii. You can find your inner hero wherever you are at, wherever you are planted, wherever you are. Love you, love you. In that moment, I loved all of me. If any of you are close to tears now, sorry, but not sorry. Choose to love yourself, to accept yourself just as you are. We don't need an illness to remind us of this. I had that stranger, the woman, who we walked each other to this beautiful place of healing. I sat with others as they drummed. And then I drummed for my own healing. But I was, whatever I was drumming was for their healing as well, and for my intention, not only for my healing, and that I was finding my inner hero, my voice, but I was sharing that out to the others in the group. It was probably about 20 to 30 people. So I'll end this chat discussion, or more of a unfolding of my journey. My closing is to love yourself just where you are, to accept yourself just as you are. I'll do another video about some affirmations for breast cancer, which don't, of course, replace any medical treatment, but can complement it. In short, please get effective rest if you are going through it, whatever it is. This can be challenging, particularly if you are in the habit or have a routine of on the go, on the go, on the go. And you have, yes, responsibilities, but please, whether it be delegate or ask for help. So please get effective rest. Please, gentle exercising. Connect with nature. Please manage your stress, whether that be through meditation, mindfulness, art, music, chanting, support group, crystals. Foster positive relationships. Claim your right to set positive, healthy boundaries in your life. Your right. Your responsibility, your right. And connect to spirituality, to something greater than yourself. I hope this has helped you. There's a storm approaching now, so I'm sort of feeling that I will close this, but I will put up another one. So if you would like to reach out with any comments, please do so, whether it be anything specifically about what I've shared or anything that you would like to mention or comment about your own journey or that of a loved one. If you have any questions, reach out to me. My details are in the description box below. You can email me. If you'd like a session with me, a private session, online session, please reach out. Thank you, thank you. Please be a light bearer. Please be an earth angel. Thank you. Much love. Much love. Much support. Much love and healing. Thank you. Bye.